what is a successful IMSA GTP season?
Podium.
Right.
Listen, we're not going to win them all, but we need to win a few or a couple, and we just need to be on or around the podium all the time. Top three certainly on the first year back would be where we need to be and deserve to be.
Welcome to the RACER Debrief. I'm Lawrence Foster. I'm with David Melcher-Lopez, and we've got a special guest. We have Meyer Shank Racing's Mike Shank.
Hey, guys.
Mike, we have brought you in for a pretty good reason, actually. We feel that we're approaching peak MSR, with the two programs, the two cars, but with the addition of Helio for the Indy 500. I mean, this is probably MSR on a scale it maybe hasn't been at before. Just give us some background on how big.
So I love being here. Appreciate taking the time to talk about our world a little bit. The scale of our team today is the maximum I ever dreamed it could possibly be. When I thought about scaling, we built a new building a couple of years ago. What's the maximum? But we actually have hit it now, which surprised me a little bit, right? So, out at Long Beach here, we've got everything I own in 5 or 6 trailers out here, literally 7 trailers. We go from here to an IMSA test up at Laguna right after the Long Beach weekend. And then, of course, I've got a whole crew back working on Helio's car, getting it ready for the 500. So what you're witnessing, if you happen to be here, is everything we got and then some. So it's full-time employees, it's contractors that come and help us. It's a huge effort from HRC, specifically on the IMSA side, but of course on the Honda side, also in IndyCar, they're very much in my life. So this is for a kid that grew up listening to the Indy 500 in 1978 with my dad in the garage, and it was Rutherford and Ray Hall, and I'm just thinking all the people I could hear, and I would listen to it working on street cars with him, to come all the way around to where we're at today, is surreal, and it's just almost unbelievable for a guy like me, where I came from, how I got into it, how I was able, through lots of great people in our life, in my life, my wife's life now, that just made sure that we were sustainable for the time and kept growing. And that's what's got us here, basically.
This is a kid with a dream, but also with an Indy 500 win. There is certainly, when we sort of put MSR in perspective, you that big hit, maybe a little bit of sort of momentum lost after that for various
on the
reasons.
IndyCar side, for sure, yeah.
But I mean, Dave and I were sort of talking beforehand and just saying the way you've come into 2025, it obviously Felix Rosenqvist there, 5th in points. The fact that we're only 2 races in the books, but 3 top 10s already between the guys. Yeah, a new alliance there with Chip Ganassi. Yep. I mean, this seems to be, it's sort of the momentum is gathering, and it's the right bits in place as well.
It's a really tricky thing if you want to talk IndyCar here a little bit, and we're at probably one of the besides the Indy 500, Long Beach Grand Prix for me is one of the premier IndyCar events we do. So it's good to talk about this now, but. This really comes down to one guy named Adam Rovazzini, who's my COO today, and he worked for me on the sports car program in 2017, was a crew chief, but he had come from Ganassi, 15 years of IndyCar racing. And we were able to put this deal together with Michael Andretti to run Jack Harvey at the Speedway that year. And I said, Adam, why don't you come and do this? We're going to ham and egg this thing. We got nothing. We own 0. And Jim Meyer and I got together. This is a big passion for Jim, almost more than me, to be honest. He's such a fan and such an incredible person. Jim really made sure we didn't throw mountains of cash on it because we really didn't have it, but we did spend the money we needed to get the first car bought and have a plan. We're going to do 6 races, and the next year we're going to do 10 races, and we're selling partnerships and we're just building. Finally, we get a full season in with Jack, and then we're able to add Helio, and then that changed history for us once we won that race, which is a whole nother story on how that happened. But it's just been very systematic. Now, along the way, we've had some peaks and valleys in IndyCar. It's been, I find that IndyCar, I feel like when I'm in the sports car world, I know that we're going to contend almost every time we run, even when we sit out a year, when I'm in detention for a year, right? So when that happens, I knew, because I kept my core group, that we're going to come back in sports car and we're going to produce right away, and we did. And we're working on continuing that right now. IndyCar has been trickier because this was a thing that I pushed Jim Meyer on a lot at the beginning. I'm like, guys, we can't expect to come in here and compete with these guys that have been doing this thing for, at that time, 10 years with that chassis, right? Like, we're good and we have smart people, but we're just asking for it. Let's figure out a technical thing. Maybe there's a deal in here. And in that case, it was with Sam Schmidt at the time. And we'll work something out and we'll put something together. And we're not too proud to say we're not strong enough in this department. And what we've found is that it's just better that way in IndyCar for us. We get a lot more width and breadth, a lot more depth right away. We pay for it. It's not free, right? We don't want to be a drag on any system we're a part of, right? We want to be additive, not taking away things. And I really believe in this model. NASCAR has models like this, very similar to this, you know, and it still works for us very well. And this year we're with Chip. We had 5 very good years with Michael. With the problems we had in IndyCar weren't Michael Andretti related, right, or Andretti Group, because, Rob Edwards and those guys were just great people, and we're still friends today. But it was time for us to move on for a variety of reasons, but and it worked out like it's supposed to. And the relationship with Chip on the IndyCar side is very new still, but Chip and I talk every week. We always checking in. He's very hands-on. It's been really good, and I'm just really getting to know Chip more and more, but it's really cool. I really, he's an icon in the sport overall, and I have a lot I can learn from him too.
What are the differences between working with, I realize the Schmidt, between Schmidt, Andretti and Chip, have they all got different operating ways, and does that guide how you operate as a team?
A little bit, but yes. The answer is, we have identical cars that are built 180 degrees apart from each other. It's amazing. And we've gotten to see 3 organizations now, right? But we always put our cars in their exact car builds, more or less, right? So that we can compare apples to apples. So when we come here, we have 5 cars. We can look at, how we zero sensors. Everything matters, right? Because we're trying to, use it. And stylistically, there's so many smart people at each group, and so many people have been around the bull ring. Everybody's been with everybody for the most part, right?
Absolutely.
For the most part. But they both have incredibly smart people and great people that I go have beer with, right? Like that I can sit down with especially, like Rob Edwards and Dave Seifert, these guys that were with us for a long time in that program. At Andretti's. If you made me pinpoint down, I think what Ganassi do really well, which people may be surprised, is it's very simplistic. I say simplistic is not a great word, but it's not complicated what they're doing. Right. It's very practical. Maybe that's a better word. Yeah. Very practical, very common sense. There's a lot of new technology in it, but there's a strain of guys through that organization who you guys know have just kept it real. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think that is really a good thing. Conversely, on like on my IMSA side, we are pushing the boundaries of F1 like level engineering now. Yes. Meaning we're looking at things I never thought we would. We're developing. We're working on making a homologated car as good as we can get it, because there's tight rules, right? But you're perfecting. And you're finding that everywhere we go, NASCAR perfecting a homologated, essentially, car. There's still little grays, not even grays. There's just room somewhere you can spend a lot of money trying to get the best out of it, Yeah. And in that group is, technically with the, more advanced hybrid system and powertrains even in IMSA, that takes a different. But what I like about the Ganassi guys is the practicality of it all. And communication's been great too. So it's,
which that mindset, that kind of, guys like Michael who are, absolutely down to earth, absolutely
Barry
sort of,
And
Taylor's cut. Taylor and Mike, Taylor and Mike, they're all cut from that kind of cloth, right? Yeah. Taylor's younger, obviously, and bringing a new vibe in there, which is, I'm assuming, good. It looks to me like it's good. But there's a reason they won all these championships.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Don't get it wrong, right? Like,
yeah.
Is there sort of like, accelerating the process as well? The fact that, it's basically CGR graduates behind the wheel, at MSR at the moment as well. The fact that
yes, I would say that probably helps a little bit. I don't know to what percentage, but they're used to some of their ways of doing things. But I don't feel like that. Listen, we came out the same Pete and we out-qualified, our two car. But in the race, you saw the opposite happen.
Ganassi beat Ganassi.
Yeah. You saw, but that's okay. We just, for us, we need to be solidly in the top 10 from an expectation standpoint on IndyCar. And I'm kind of all over the place here, but from that, when I look at it and we're like 2023 was just a god awful year. On top of everything else, we got Simon hurt, which I still have tons of guilt about today. And it was just a terrible year for us in IndyCar, but we didn't stop. And we found ways to be much better. In 2024 in IndyCar, between the two cars, we had several drivers in the 66. Yeah. Between those two cars, we were in the Fast Six, I think, 15 times. 15, up from 0 in 23, none.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we at least got the speed where we needed it. We didn't have super great Sundays all the time, although it got a lot better at the end of the season of 24. But that's the kind of thing that we're working on right now. If we 5th and 6th place them to death, we're going to do well.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Felix Rosenqvist's arrival coincided with Meyer Shank's improvement, or do you feel he was an integral part of that improvement?
No, everything you just said.
Right.
He's he's just flat fast, and I knew that, and I saw that. If you think back, qualifying Laguna 23 when he put it on pole. Yeah. If you watch his in-car camera of that lap, it's just insane holding on to that thing, right? Because it was not happy.
Yeah.
And or he had it so far out on the edge, he just got everything out of it, right? And I knew at that moment, we had done our deal at that point already, but I knew at that moment, I said, we got the right guy for what we need right now. Yeah. We need to get speed number 1. So get Saturday sussed.
Yes.
And then get Sunday worked on as we can. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, I feel he enjoyed stepping out of Pado's shadow. From McLaren as
and gave him some stability. We put our around, we haven't got all the results we want yet, but I mean, I'm telling you, we're going the right direction, and he fits in, and he's wanted, and I think he knows he's wanted.
Yeah.
And Jim Meyer, he's done amazing things in life on the business side, and he's used to winning, right? Mm-hmm. And when you come to IndyCar, you get your teeth kicked in more than you don't.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. I mean, it is. There are times I can just having the worst feel. That ride home on Sundays, wherever you're flying, driving, whatever you're doing, when you have a bad weekend, it is the worst in IndyCar for me. It just destroys my soul. So how can we come out of that on Monday? All right, what are we doing now? Like, what are we going to do to make this better? And we just continue to pound the drum and do the reps.
Mike, you were saying about, putting your arm around Felix. I'm seeing the same thing with Tom Blomqvist as well. Things didn't go, as anybody would wanted with the Tom in IndyCar.
Yeah.
But the fact that now he is integral to, the return to GTP, it's getting the old gang back together again.
Yeah.
Playing.
Yeah. That
has got to say something about the fact that Tom was able to sort of, do that. No hard feelings, whatever, and he's basically back on it. I want to sort of talk about you relative to Penske Porsche at the moment, but you had your, we'll call it a timeout, not a detention.
Mm-hmm.
How different coming back, sort of collecting your ARX06's 2025 spec to 2023 spec. Mm-hmm. How much of that moved on, and how much is basically, you kind of almost like playing catch up with a car that has moved on?
Well, a couple different departments to talk about here. So the number one thing from where we left off at 23 to where the car is today is advanced. So it's 40% beyond where we were. Jesus. We still do, and a lot of that's control systems that we actually don't do on the MSR side. That's Honda's side, or HRC side, I should say. But the control systems have got a lot better. And that's advanced a lot. Chassis just keeps developing. The simulator keeps getting better, so we're getting more real information out of the simulator. But my core group that did so well in 23 is still with me, right? And I was able to keep them during that off year and keep them doing other projects and stuff. And I knew kind of, let's see here, mid through, maybe I can't remember what it was exactly, mid to late mid, that we were getting the deal back. And so at that point, those guys switched back over to GTP and started collecting current data and getting caught back up and making. So we were a well-oiled machine before the deal was, we were going forward on the GTP side. Now, with regard to Tom Bloomquist, you got to understand, Tom's my guy. Yeah. I didn't find him. He's been obviously in a lot of programs over the years, but I did notice him in some of his figures in P2 in 2021, I think it was, and it was enough to come and test at Road Atlanta in the fall of 21, late fall of 21. And I knew, and there was 4 or 5 other guys that went, or three other guys that went before he did, and he got the benefit of just kind of watching him, really quiet, not saying a lot. He went out there, and I would say within 10, 12 laps, I called Jim Meyer, said, we got our guy. It's done. We're going to get this deal done right now. Yeah, and we're going to get it done for as long as we can get it done. I mean, he did everything we asked him and did it before we asked him. He kind of knew he kind of understood what we were trying to see if what he could do. So from the beginning, he was my guy. And if you go back in 2022 when we won the championship and you look at some of his quali sessions, like at Mosport, and you watch the car was just way stiff, but which is really harsh over the bump. I mean, he was just manhandling the thing, right? He had some poles that were just spectacular. And I just felt at the end of 23 when we would have won the championship, right, without our issue, I felt Tom was a deserved candidate to be an IndyCar, and Jim Meyer agreed. Jim and I spent lots of time talking about this. We analyzed it. We looked at it. We tested him. Jim and I committed to testing him. I looked at Jim. Jim's like, man, I think we got it. I said, I agree. So we went off. Now, that didn't go where we wanted it to go. It didn't go that way for Tom either. We had to make a change. Jim and I agonized over this a lot. And, I think it was after Indy, we decided we needed to switch directions and try a couple of things. We had Connor drive, who I love Connor to death. He did a good job for us. Not in a great position. We're just throwing things. And when we put Malukas in the car, suddenly the car just started running at the top, especially in the ovals, he was always up at the top in our car. But on the road courses, he qualified in the Fast Six 2 or 3 times, I think, Matty. I can't remember. Malukas. Even on the road course, he was, Malukas in this car, right? That we were like, man, is it? So that whole time, though, in my mind, I knew I had the GTP deal, and this is hard for Tom is an exceptionally gifted driver, and very focused on being the fastest guy at the track every day, right? And this is very hard on him, and I felt terrible, but I never abandoned him ever. And I kept paying him. And this is what we're going to do. He's like, I'm in. Just let me go recuperate. So he went off, did some stuff for the 31 car, which he did really well at, and then was ready to come back to us. And this year would have been, in my opinion, would have been on pole at Daytona without a little checkup from a competitor in quali, and then was just off pole at Sebring, right, and still has huge pace. And he and Colin, I felt. That's why I put them back together. I felt both of them. And Colin coming, I was hard on Colin. Like, Colin, you come in here, you're going to have a super fast teammate. And in 23, I'm talking. When I brought him in 23, Colin, I don't know, I tested some people to have that slot, and he's like, I can do it, man. Okay, but if you're not fast, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have the speed. And he felt that pressure and dealt with it really well. But then he has some race savvy. If you look at some races like Mosport we won, and we're on a fuel number at that race at the end. He still pulled away on a fuel number. And that was some great stuff. So it really made me feel like these two deserve another year or 2 to try to get a championship done coming back into this.
Sorry. I was just going to say that you pulled off the mark. René van der Zande basically was a Cadillac lifer. There was no way he was going anywhere else.
Yeah.
What sort of Mike Shank magic sort of brought him into the second car?
It wasn't really Mike Shank anything. It was just looking at the facts and who's available. Now, I don't know the reason politically or whatever it was that I know it on the IMSA side, but I don't know on the WEC side why they chose not to bring Ringer in, right? But I'm just looking at the facts on North American tracks and looking at his numbers, watching him at, petite, drive with no lights and win the race, basically. And what I've seen the good and the bad with him. I've seen both, right? Which we all have. And his personality, right? Like, is another thing. So how do I think that will mesh? This is also David Salters and HRC had a lot to do with this in his group, and Wayne Gross and between him and Nick, these are just what we needed in that car was to have two really veterans people that that could bring what their experience, what they've been through in their programs, bring it to our car, right? Our team, to understand where the other competition was at the point, but also just to have a maturity about them that they don't feel like they got to dragon slay it every single day. They might have an off day. We're not going to let them go because of it. We're going to do something else. Just that mature sense in that car. Yeah. And again, they're right there. Again, at Daytona, that car without the rear suspension problem would have been fighting at the end. Yeah. And it fought hard at Sebring at the end too.
How do you feel? Acura measures up to the Porsche 963, and how do you feel MSR measures up to Penske? And how difficult is it to differentiate? Where the shortfall is, or is it all just BOP?
Well, it's a lot of BOP, unfortunately, and my neck hurts right now. You talking about it makes my neck hurt right here. But it's
that was life. Dave's next 5 questions.
It's a fact of life that I'm coming better to grips with. We have a lot of really great folks on the engineering side on MSR and HRC that analyze it and understand it way better than I do at this. We used to do BOP between the trailers. Really? Whisper, blah, 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 blah. I'm mad. I'm stomping my feet. I'm going to leave. Nope, I'm good now. And then, this never. Now, IMSA's done, they work really, really hard at trying to not have that image of whatever it is in BOP. It's a really, really difficult job. I'd never have that job. Having said that, I think technically where we're at, the MSR group that Jim and I put together and the HRC group that David and Wayne Gross have put together is as good as anyone in the paddock. I know that, actually. I think the thing that we're lacking right now is that we had what I'm going to call a 1.75 years with this car because we helped develop it.
Yeah. Yes.
Then we had an off year. And then we're back on again where Penske's just been nose grinding it the whole time. That's the only real difference right now. We beat ourselves at Sebring. We had a couple dumb mistakes, just mistakes, okay, that we are working on, right? The beauty is we didn't let it derail us, and we still got a reasonable result. Yep. Now we need to just tighten that up. Now, I don't know what's going to happen here totally at Long Beach, but it's not from a humongous lack of trying.
But as you said, Mike, as well, like the minuscule things stopping you from sort of, sitting on 2 poles now or whatever.
Yeah.
Penske, obviously, I guess one of the other factors as well is we're not talking, you're against, a couple of development cars from Penske. You're also against everything they've got from WEC. You're against everything coming in from JDC and Proton.
Sure.
Is it... I'm not saying frustrating is the right word, but the fact that Acura haven't sort of put in a side-by-side WEC program, I mean, is that kind of making it that you've always got to be on the on the wheel a little bit harder? Or?
I believe 1,000% we can beat them. We can beat them right now if we just not beat ourselves. So that's number one.
Yeah.
They're not unbeatable. They're very beatable, but they're just they're executing so well right now. That's their secret sauce, right? Fantastic engineering, fantastic drivers, execution. They've got it all boxed in right now. And we've got a couple good things and a couple things that we need to tighten up, and that's what we're working on. Now, relative to the WEC question, I would personally love to run WEC, but that's not up to me. That'll be up to David Salters and Honda in Japan and Acura, or however they decide, if they decide to do it. I have no idea, by the way, zero idea, so I can't answer any question. We'll be happy to do it. We'll do a great job for them. I think it would add another dimension to everything we do.
Yeah.
Because if you think about how, I'm telling you, what we're doing together now engineering-wise between our two groups is special. It's really, and we're just 10% into it right now.
Right.
When this thing gets all its legs, we should sit down again. But I'm telling you, it's going the right direction. If we apply that to what we're doing, if we ever did, trust me, because I have no idea if that'll happen. I think it could be really, really effective. We just keep getting more data points, right?
So you've said about, this solidity in IndyCar of, multiple top tens, and, they add up and they add up and they add up, and there will be bigger weekends, obviously, than, just sort of like getting those fifths or sixths, whatever. What is a successful IMSA GTP season?
Podium.
Right.
Listen, we're not going to win them all, but we need to win a few or a couple, and we just need to be on or around the podium all the time. And try to get both of them up there. This year we've had, one have had a misfire. And each one's had a misfire, right? And Penske hasn't. Not really. Right? Like not at all, actually. So top three. Obviously I want to win the championship, because I want to have to figure out if we get to go do Le Mans. Because if you win the championship, you get an invite, right?
Yes.
So would we get to do Le Mans then? That'll be the question. I have zero answer to that, but that's one of the benefits of it, right? So I think we're capable. It's going to be tough. I mean, they've built a huge ramp already that will be difficult to overcome. But top three certainly on the first year back would be where we need to be and deserve to be.
Well, a close now. Mike, we're at Long Beach. You're working. We've grabbed you from sort of the day job. Yeah. Just a closing question then. Let's just move back to Indy.
Mm-hmm.
Helio joins.
Yep.
Helio, the oracle, the Yoda to the other guys.
Yep.
What do you think is achievable at the Indy 500?
So I'll just say to this, it was, and Jim Meyer and I worked on this so hard in the end of 2020 when we were trying to figure out, we knew we were going to have the budget to do 6 races with a second car at the time. And who's going to drive it? We knew Helio was coming off his deal with Roger from sports cars, and he was doing a little bit of IndyCar, and we just looked at it and felt like we really felt like he would bring something to the table that we needed. We had Jack Harvey at the time, who was still coming along, but still learning, right? And we brought a veteran in. It just made sense. Plus, Helio is just a marketing dream. I mean, he is the best. Yeah. There is no one in the paddock that can hold court like he can, whether we're having dinner over here at the steak place. He'll keep 12 people captivated the whole night, right? Yeah. That's his superpower. Yeah. On top of the racing. The racing's another thing, right? What he can do and what he's capable of thinking at the speedway is incredible. It's up to us to actually get him a car.
Right.
So in 21, we gave him a hell of a car. We had really good power that year. Everything was good. 22 and 20. I'm trying to think what happened now. I can't remember. But we just had kind of last year we were actually up to 7th or 8th.
Yeah, Helio was just suddenly.
Yeah, but then we had troubles on some restarts at the end, and we faded at the end, which is unfortunate. But it's up to us to give him a car. If we do that, if we give him a fast enough car, chassis, motor, all that stuff, he can contend. I promise you, he can contend. And I can just tell you that winning the Indy 500 absolutely changed Jim Meyer and myself. Forever.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
It ruined us, right? Because now you won one more, right? And I have so much respect and reverence for that place. And as I get frustrated at IndyCar sometimes from all the political stuff you hear going on, and it's tough this, it's tough that. But man, I'm telling you, win that race, it truly changes your life. Now, can you imagine if we could win him his 5th?
Yeah, good grief.
I mean, it's just, so what am I not going to do? I'm going to throw as much as I can afford at it. I'm going to give him everything he asked for, try to. And we're going to do it for another year or two. I don't know totally yet the time length, but as long as he wants to do it and he keeps up, he's super fit right now. His fit is, he's 49 years old. Is he 49 or going to be 50 soon?
Yeah, he's going to be 50.
What did Mario do to us? 51 or 50?
52 is when he scored his final win, I think, in Michigan.
So, we got a couple years here, I think. And he's fit. Like Helio's, I'm on the road with him a lot. He works out constantly. He's always working on it. So it's up to us to give him a car. If we do that, he could change history, I promise you. And I just hope I'm a part of it with our group and Jim Meyer.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, before that, Long Beach this weekend.
Defending pole sitter.
4 cars, 6 drivers, 2 series. You've got to go and do you.
It's a little busy, but I'm happy to talk about it.
This isn't us getting rid of Mike Shank. This is us knowing that Mike's got a
We have some dinners.
We
have sponsors here tonight, and we're grateful. So we go take care of them.
Well, thanks for finding the time, and that was fascinating.
Thank
so
you,
we'll we will catch up with you.
Happy to talk anytime.
We'll rejoin you after you score Helio's 5th.
You get a 5th, we'll have a lot to talk about.
Dave does put the pressure on to close, but yeah,
you got it,
Mike. Thanks.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Cheers.